So unless you've been under a rock for the last, I don't know, week and a half now, you would probably know by now how successful Tekken 8 is doing, at least in the fighting games or even in the broad public. We've seen anywhere between pro players to content creators who don't even specialize in the game. We've also got even folks who don't even have anything to do with fighting games as a whole play this game. We're seeing RDC World go crazy. We're even seeing Agent 00. We're seeing a whole bunch of content creators cover this game, and it's been doing really well. Now in this video, I'm going to be going over why at this current junction, okay, I'm not going to say that this is forever, however, at this current point in time, why Tekken 8 is doing better than Street Fighter 6. And if you like this style of content, or you're even looking for a little bit of coaching in Street Fighter 6, feel free to drop me a subscription. You know what I mean? It goes a long way to help the channel grow. And if you want to see more of this, tell me down in the comments below. So with this list, I'm going to start us off real easy. Something that you guys can put together quite simply, right? The first reason as to why Tekken 8 is doing a little bit better than Street Fighter 6, at least currently, is because of recency bias, right? When we're looking at Tekken 8 has been out for what, a week and some change? Versus Street Fighter 6 has been out for maybe 7 or 8 months, give or take, right? I'm not too accurate on the number, but you get what I'm trying to get at, right? With that being said, it is a little bit stale at the moment, right? On top of not doing any patches or rather doing patches only once a year, we find ourselves in a situation where the game is just stuck in one meta, and we're just kind of watching the same thing unfold over and over again without very many fluctuations in play. As opposed to Tekken 8 currently, Tekken 8, it's a new world to discover, that sort of energy, right? That being said, it's kind of, you get a little bit bored of the old and you want in with the new. Right now Tekken 8 just looks so much fun. There's so much coverage. You're seeing a whole bunch of gameplay. You're seeing characters that look so cool. Like you look at characters like Reina, you look at characters like Azucena, right? These characters are bringing people to the series. I would bring up the fact that it is a legacy series as well, but both series are in fact legacy, so that's not necessarily a reason. But we do see a lot of coverage on the game, which leads into my next point, which is community engagement. Now, what does that look like? You might be saying we have a whole bunch of Street Fighter 6 content creators, myself included, right? We have a whole bunch of these guys, but let me tell you the difference, okay? A lot of the content creation, at least when it comes to Street Fighter, comes mainly from like the pros or folks that already, have themselves established within the community of the FGC. However, what I've seen when it comes to Tekken, it's been a little bit different of an experience. Because I'm seeing folks that don't even know anything about Tekken, really, aside from the fact they used to play it way back in the day. And sure, we got those, old heads I used to play, the original Street Fighter. We have those folk, obviously. But we don't have the same level. For instance, I'm seeing one girl make a TikTok talking about the fact that her dad or her parents named them after Street Fighter characters. You don't get that. Where the little child that called Ryu? You don't see that. All this to say, the fact that, when it comes to Tekken, we're seeing a lot more people that are outside the FGC kind of dip their toes in a little bit more, right? We do have to see where it goes from here. This is why I say at this current junction, right? We do have to see where it goes from here. And when it comes to content creators making content on the game, we're seeing a lot of people enjoy the story mode a lot. They're enjoying a lot of the new additions to the characters, as well as having a large roster like they do. allows them to keep a lot of the legacy while sprinkling in a couple new characters here and there, which allows people to feel connected to the cast. And while you can say Street Fighter 6 does have its World Warriors, right, and a couple more extra, you do tend to notice that they have a large amount of new characters. Had they brought in a couple more characters from of old, you might see the same type of thing. But again, this also relates back to the recency bias, and chat, do not kill me for saying so, but it is the case. Okay, let's go on to the next reason. So this next one might become a little bit more controversial. Okay, but with that being said, let's get into it. So the next reason I have for you guys is the fact that Tekken prides itself on legacy to an extent. What do I mean by this? When it comes to Street Fighter, it tends to change quite drastically between games, right? With that being said, it's not a bad thing, the fact that they do so, but the fact that it does tend to change quite drastically from game to game tends to impact the types of people that they keep playing the game continuously. Like, for instance, there are a lot of folk from Third Strike, it's not the same game as Street Fighter 4. And obviously, you can obviously say that that's the case for all the games. But with that being said, it is such a drastic change that you kind of lose folks along the way. With Tekken, this is obviously still going to be the case. I'm not going to say 100%, but it seems to be you can make a better argument for the fact that they keep it a little bit closer to legacy. And although people have their gripes about certain things, like, maybe Rage Art or different supers are not hop kick punishable or whatever have you on the small changes, they keep fairly consistent in a lot of areas, right? They don't make as drastic a change as Street Fighter does. We go from the whole V system over to this drive gauge system, and some may argue it's fairly similar, but it's really not. And it changes the entire dynamic of the game, and it has appalled quite a few people. We have yet to see how people really engage with the heat system. But with that being said, it is definitely looking that it's being accepted, at least to a certain extent. Obviously, people have to engage with it more. But with that being said, currently it's being accepted pretty nicely. This is the reason why I'd say legacy, or staying true to legacy to an extent, is good, is because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, that sort of thing. And if you go too far away from that, and you start trying to make drastic changes, you end up losing a lot of folk on the way. An example of this is actually the jump from Exer to Strive. And while I love Strive, there are folks, and a lot of folks, in fact, that have dropped Strive for the fact that it is too far away from that Guilty Gear legacy. There are many people who will complain and who will say, not my Guilty Gear, or that's not true Guilty Gear, for the fact that they have made such drastic changes. And while that game has been successful for those changes, someone may argue the fact that if you make too far changes, you lose too many of the folks that have built up the series over time. Meanwhile, when we look at Tekken has not gone so far away from their original system. Obviously, there are going to be changes throughout the games, okay? I'm going to keep saying this so I don't get in the comments. Obviously, there are going to be changes over the years, okay? But with that being said, they're not too far away from the original system that they had, okay? With that being said, let's move on to our next reasoning. So this next reason may be a little bit more of a personal reason, right? It may not agree with you, and this one doesn't necessarily have to do with Tekken 8's success, more so than Street Fighter 6's failure. So one of the things that I think is allowing Tekken 8 to really thrive, especially when it comes to like Street Fighter 6 players playing Tekken, is the fact that Street Fighter 6 has kind of burned us. Okay, when we're talking about being burned, we're talking about showing us a preview of your coming into the game, and then it's an avatar, and then we're seeing a whole bunch of crossovers and things of that nature, and then we're getting avatars. I don't want avatars. Most people don't want avatars. Most people want to play like their casual games or their ranked games with your or whichever crossover character you can think of, or the TMNT. People want to do that, okay? But the reason why we're feeling particularly burned is not only because of these avatar skins that they go about giving, but also because the actual skins that we have, number one, we've only gotten one set. But number two, the fact that how much you have to pay for them, and especially the coin system, people feel incredibly manipulated by their money system. And again, we have yet to see how Tekken 8 goes about their money system, and they probably will end up having a battle pass of some sort, but we'll see when we get there. That's why I'm saying at this current junction. But with that being said, we feel very slighted by a lot of these monetization things, and it's honestly hurt the community quite a bit, because no one is like, especially in this economy, how are we gonna pay $108 for all of the costume 3 outfits? We can't. So then now we're just kind of forced, all right, let's just choose the character that we play and whatever have you. And then on top of which, the way they set up how to pay to get certain coins is egregious, right? If you don't know, essentially they give you right under the cost of a skin, and then the amount of coins you would need for a skin, and they give you right over it. So essentially what either has to happen is that you have to pay the one that's right under it twice, or you pay for the one that's over it, which is a larger number, right? So it's a little bit unfortunate, the fact that this is the case, and it makes people not want to really be as more engaged, because when you have your own costume and you love your costume, you're more engaged, and when you're more engaged, you want to see more and whatever have you, right? Tekken 8 hasn't done this yet. MK1 has done this, and debatably even worse, and that's why people are saying MK1, one of the reasons at least why they're saying MK1 is terrible, we don't like it, we don't want it, whatever have you. Okay, so with that being said, let's go on to our last reason. Now, this last one to you might seem like a little bit of a cop-out, but all of these reasons go towards the reason why Tekken 8 is doing better. So with that being said, the reason that I would say that Tekken 8 is doing better is because on social media, we have a face that goes with the game. Okay, what does that mean? So when we're looking at MK1, we have Ed Boon, right? When we're looking at Tekken 8, we have Harada. You know what I mean? And when it comes to Harada is always on Twitter, interacting with the community, getting us hyped for different things. And you kind of have a face to the game. And while you may say this is cope or whatever, it really does go a long way to keep the community excited about things, right? It keeps up the engagement with the game. So when it comes to Harada, it's like, maybe I might think about Tifa for Tekken 8, right? And he keeps playing around with that idea. There's like newsletters about him going on different talking podcasts, whatever have you, or giving statements, that sort of thing, right? And it gives us hope for the future. However, when it comes to Street Fighter 6, we don't really get any of that. We only get the official Capcom USA or something from Capcom directly, and then when we get statements from the folks that actually develop the game, those are like after tournaments, but we don't see active engagement from them directly. And this kind of dies down the hype, right? And we're left to kind of guess or figure it out by ourselves, and nothing really getting us hyped for the future. With that being said, I appreciate you guys if you made it to this part of the video. Once again, a subscription would go a long way. And if you're looking for some coaching, I would suggest you to my playlist. You can find your character there, or if you're looking for general knowledge, that would be great too. Well, have a good one, y'all.